Have you ever trusted someone with your pain, only to feel them slowly pull away? Have you ever confided in a friend hoping for empathy, only to hear your story twisted in someone else's mouth? Days later, that moment right there, when the weight in your chest becomes heavier, not because of what you said, but because of what it cost you. That's the lesson no one teaches you until it's too late. Not everyone who smiles at you deserves to know your struggles, and not every tear you shed deserves an audience. Because in this world, people don't respond to who you truly are. They respond to what you project. We like to believe that being vulnerable builds connection, and sometimes it does. But that's not the full truth. In the real world, in business, in relationships, in conflict, vulnerability is often a weapon handed to the wrong hands. And once it's out, you can't take it back. You can't unsay what you confessed. You can't unshow the cracks you exposed. Machiavelli said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few know what you really are." That's not a warning. That's a strategy. You want to be unbreakable, start by becoming unreadable. Because here's the cold reality: those who seem strong are attacked less, and those who reveal little are respected more. This doesn't mean you have to be fake. It doesn't mean becoming a robot. It means becoming a guardian of your emotional landscape. You wouldn't leave your front door open in a dangerous neighborhood. Why would you leave your soul unguarded in a world full of self-interest? Your pain, your fear, your doubts. They are not weaknesses. They are sacred. And sacred things deserve privacy, not display. Imagine two leaders in a crisis. One panics, vents to everyone, lays his fears out, hoping someone will relate. The other stays composed, speaks little, moves with quiet confidence. Which one do people follow? Which one do they hesitate to challenge? It's always the one who remains steady, the one who holds their silence like a sword, the one who seems unshaken even when the storm is loud. The truth is, humans don't assess logically. They judge instantly, by posture, by presence, by what you show or don't. When you control your image, when you master your expression, when you choose what to reveal and what to withhold, you build something rare, an aura. People begin to see you as composed, as powerful, as someone not to be trifled with. And that reputation becomes armor. People don't throw stones at a wall they can't see through, but they do poke holes in vulnerability they can identify. So does that mean we never open up? No. It means we earn the right to open up. You share your real emotions, but only with the rare few who have proven over seasons, not moments, that they're worthy of your trust. And to everyone else, you become a mirror, reflecting back only what you want them to see, nothing more, nothing less. Let this sink in. The strongest people you know are not the loudest. They are not the ones constantly telling their story. They are the ones who sit in silence, who endure storms without posting about it, who emerge not bitter, not broken, but unshaken. Their silence unsettles. Their control demands respect. So ask yourself, would you rather be momentarily liked for your openness or permanently respected for your discipline? Because in the end, perception shapes reality. The world doesn't give you what you feel, it gives you what you command. And when you control your image, you control the room. You protect your peace. You protect your future. That is not coldness. That is wisdom in its highest form. Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and believed they would never hurt you, only to watch them walk away with pieces of your trust in their hands? That moment when betrayal arrives, not from your enemy, but from the person sitting beside you. Smiling, laughing, nodding, that's the moment that changes people. We are not betrayed by strangers. We are betrayed by those we trusted too quickly, too deeply, and too blindly. And it hurts not just because of what they did. It hurts because we realize we gave them the weapon. We handed over our loyalty without asking for proof. We offered trust like a gift, not like something to be earned. That's the mistake. In a world full of shifting loyalties, self-interest, and hidden agendas, trust is not something you give. It's something you test, relentlessly, quietly, repeatedly. You see, life changes people. Circumstances shift. The same person who once protected your name in rooms you weren't in may one day sell your silence for opportunity. not because they're evil, but because people are loyal to their needs, not to you. The Stoics understood this. Seneca wrote, "It is a rough road that leads to the heights of greatness, and part of that rough road is learning that loyalty is fluid, that most people will choose themselves over you when pressure comes. The mistake isn't in being hurt. The mistake is in assuming trust is safe just because someone smiles, agrees, or says the right words. So what do? We stop assuming. We start observing. Don't trust what people say. Trust what they do when no one is watching. Anyone can promise loyalty in calm waters, but what happens when the storm hits? When envy creeps in, when money, pride, or pressure rearranges their priorities. That's when the truth shows. You don't have to be paranoid to be wise. You just have to stop rushing. Trust is like a bank account. People don't get access to your deepest thoughts, your plans, your pain, just because they've been around for a few weeks or made you laugh. They earn it over time through consistency, integrity, and loyalty in your absence. One of the most powerful strategies you can use. The silent test. Share something small, something unimportant but traceable. And watch. Does it come back to you? Does it resurface from someone else's mouth? Do they twist it, spread it, or stay silent? You just learned everything you needed to know without a confrontation, without drama, without ever exposing yourself. Here's the harsh truth. The person who will betray you next may already be in your life. It won't feel like treason. It will feel like slow erosion. A changed tone, a moment of hesitation, a misused confidence. But when you stop seeing people through the lens of your hopes and start seeing them through the lens of your observations, you begin to see clearly. We've all been taught that trust is noble, but what's truly noble is discernment. The strong don't beg for loyalty. They don't demand apologies. They don't get emotional when someone shows their real face. They simply adjust their access. Silently, powerfully, permanently. That's not bitterness. That's clarity. A Stoic doesn't hate the snake. He just doesn't keep it near his chest. You don't have to argue when someone shows you who they are. You don't need closure. You need boundaries. If someone doesn't defend you when you're not in the room, they never will. If someone talks about others behind their back, they will do the same to you. If someone only shows up when they need something, but disappears when you do believe them, words are cheap, patterns are priceless. The strongest people are not those who trust no one. They are those who trust with caution, with time, and with proof. They are not cold, they are wise. They do not expect perfection, but they demand integrity. They don't avoid betrayal by isolating themselves. They avoid betrayal by watching carefully and acting accordingly. So, if you've ever been betrayed, don't feel weak. Feel awakened. That pain. It taught you something school never will. It taught you to guard your loyalty like gold, to stop handing it out like candy, to let people earn the right to stand beside you. Because in the end, the people who deserve your trust will pass the tests. They won't even know they're being tested. They'll simply keep showing up. With consistency, with truth, with action, and the rest, they'll reveal themselves, not through loud betrayal, but through quiet patterns you'll now have the wisdom to recognize. So, trust but test, watch but don't assume, and above all, protect your peace like it's everything. Because in a world full of actors, the most dangerous thing you can do is cast someone too early in a role they were never meant to play. Have you ever wondered why the nicest people often get treated the worst? Why the ones who bend over backwards to help others who say yes when they mean no, who forgive too quickly and tolerate too much, are often overlooked, dismissed, or even disrespected? We're raised to believe that kindness is a virtue that guarantees loyalty, that being soft earns us safety, and that humility will protect us from harm. But the real world doesn't operate on those terms. In the real world, kindness without boundaries isn't seen as noble, it's seen as weakness. And weakness, no matter how well-intentioned, gets exploited. People may say they value warmth, but deep down what they respect is strength. The kind of strength that doesn't need to shout. The kind of strength that doesn't chase approval. The the kind of strength that makes others think twice before stepping out of line. Machiavelli understood this long ago when he said, "It is much safer to be feared than loved if one must choose." This doesn't mean we need to become cruel or heartless. It means we need to stop sacrificing our dignity at the altar of being liked. Being liked is fleeting. It's fragile. It depends on mood convenience and the ever-changing emotions of others. But respect, real respect that stays, that endures, that protects. And that kind of respect isn't earned through constant giving. It's earned through restraint, through presence, and through selective access. True strength isn't loud. It's silent and composed. It's not the person yelling to prove a point. It's the person who says little but commands the entire room when they walk in. Strength is saying no without apology. It's not explaining yourself when it's unnecessary. It's walking away from disrespect with your head high and your peace intact. The harsh truth is that people don't fear your anger, they fear your composure. They fear your ability to stay calm under fire, to not react, to not explain, to not beg, because that kind of stillness, that's power. That's the kind of power that doesn't threaten it, promises. And when people can't predict your reactions, they stop trying to provoke them. So many of us fall into the trap of oversharing, overgiving, overaccommodating, believing that by doing so, we'll be appreciated. But all we do is teach others that our time is cheap, our energy is endless, and our presence is guaranteed. When you make yourself too available, you become replaceable. When you pour kindness into people who only understand strength, you end up empty. The solution is not to stop being kind. It's to become strategically kind, reserved, measured, intentional. Your kindness should be a reward, not a currency. Something given to those who prove they deserve it, not to anyone who demands it. Imagine two managers. One is bubbly friendly, constantly checking in with everyone, trying to create a warm, likable environment. The other is calm, composed, firm, but fair, and rarely reveals anything personal. Who gets liked more? Probably the first. But who gets respected more? Whose deadlines get met? Whose words carry weight? Always the second. Because respect is born from consistency, from boundaries, from unshakable standards. And in this world, it's not the most helpful person who wins, it's the one who refuses to be disrespected. The one who corrects someone once, and if it happens again, disappears without drama. No warnings, no explanations, just absence. Because absence is louder than argument. When people know that disrespect leads to silence, to closed doors, to the loss of your presence, they remember. They adjust. That's not arrogance. That's self-respect. And it's one of the most magnetic forces a person can have. The moment you stop trying to be understood by everyone, the moment you stop negotiating your value with those who can't see it, you free yourself. You rise. You become untouchable. Not because you're heartless, but because you finally understand love is optional, but respect is non-negotiable. You don't need everyone to like you. You don't need to explain why you left, why you said no, why you created distance. You just need to mean it. And when you do, when your energy says, "I will not be played with people," learn that they cannot manipulate you through guilt, obligation, or emotional noise. They either rise to meet your standard, or they quietly remove themselves. Either way, your peace remains undisturbed. So, are you afraid of being seen as cold, or are you more afraid of being used, drained, and disregarded again? Because the truth is, people don't respect weakness disguised as kindness. They respect quiet confidence. They respect discipline. They respect the person who doesn't flinch when challenged, who doesn't argue with chaos, who doesn't lower their standard just to avoid conflict. Kindness is beautiful, but only when it's backed by power. And power is not force. Power is control. It's not needing to be the loudest. It's being so secure in yourself that people think twice before ever crossing you. Because they know when you leave, you take everything of value with you. Your time, your presence, your peace. And that kind of departure, that leaves a silence no apology can fill. Have you ever walked away from a confrontation only to replay it over and over in your mind, wishing you had stayed calm, wishing you hadn't reacted, wishing you hadn't exposed how much it affected you? That regret, that hollow feeling in your chest. That's not just about what was said. It's about what you gave away your power. Because every time you react emotionally, whether out of anger, fear, insecurity, or frustration, you're handing the keys of your inner world to someone else. And once they see how you tick where your buttons are, what breaks your composure, you become easy to manipulate, easy to provoke, easy to read. In a world that rewards emotional control and punishes outbursts, your ability to remain still while others stir is one of the most powerful forms of self-mastery. This is the essence of Stoic philosophy and the heart of Machiavellian insight. They both understood what most people never realize, that the person who reacts least leads most. That true influence isn't about talking the loudest or asserting your authority. It's about controlling your own emotions so completely that you can control the energy of every room you enter. When you're reactive, you're predictable. And when you're predictable, you're powerless. The sharpest minds, the ones who move strategically, who play the long game, don't let the outside world dictate their internal state. They don't rush to defend themselves against insults. They don't let petty provocations disturb their peace. They understand that most arguments aren't designed to seek truth, but to bait you into revealing your weakness. And so, they watch. They listen. They choose when to speak, and often they don't speak at all. Because silence is a weapon. It creates discomfort. It shifts power. It forces others to fill in the blanks with their own fear or guilt. Think of the last time someone remained calm when you were emotional. Their calmness didn't mean they didn't care. It meant they were in control. And that's what unsettled you. That's what lingered in a world where everyone is quick to react, quick to vent, quick to retaliate. The one who remains composed becomes the one everyone watches. They become unpredictable, unreadable, unshakable. That kind of presence is rare. And because it's rare, it's powerful. Mastering yourself doesn't mean becoming numb. It means becoming intentional. It means understanding that your emotions are valid, but your expression of them must be disciplined. It means pausing before speaking, breathing before answering, thinking before acting. It's not suppression, it's strategy. Emotional sovereignty is the foundation of psychological strength, and without it, you are constantly at the mercy of the world, of bad days, rude people, social media traffic, gossip, rejection. Everything controls you because you don't control you. But when you learn to observe rather than react, when you sit with your anger rather than release it, when you respond with calm instead of defense, you become dangerous not because you're violent, but because you're unshakable. This kind of discipline is what separates those who survive the chaos from those who dominate within it. The Stoics taught that the greatest victory is the victory over the self. That while you cannot control the world, you can always control your perception of it and your reaction to it. You become untouchable not when no one attacks you, but when no attack can throw you off center. You don't flinch when insulted. You don't explain when misunderstood. You don't chase validation. Because you've trained your mind to sit in discomfort without begging it to end. You've taught yourself that not every fire needs your fuel. And so you wait. You watch. You play the long game. People will notice. They'll talk. They'll try harder to get a reaction. And when they fail, they'll be left with nothing but their own reflection. That's what your stillness does. It turns their noise into a mirror. They'll see their own insecurity in your silence, their own immaturity in your calm, their own smallness in your refusal to lower yourself. And when the time is right, if action is required, you move with precision. Not from rage, but from clarity. Not from impulse, but from strategy. The strongest people don't move often, but when they do, the whole board shifts. So ask yourself, are you reacting to the world, or are you making it react to you? Because in the end, the person who controls themselves controls everything. They set the pace. They define the tone. They become the standard. And everyone else, They just follow the lead of the one who never flinched. There comes a moment sharp and irreversible when someone you trusted shows you exactly who they are, and it's not who you believed. The betrayal isn't always loud. Sometimes it's subtle. A secret shared, a silence where there should have been defense, a look that confirms your worst instincts. And in that moment, as the weight of realization settles in you, stand at a crossroads. You can seek closure, explanations, apologies, or you can do what the wise do. You can act with finality, not in rage, not in spite, but with the cold, surgical clarity of someone who has learned the most painful lesson of all: mercy to a traitor is not kindness. It's an invitation for them to do it again. In a world that romanticizes forgiveness, we forget that closure is often a lie. We tell ourselves to avoid doing what's necessary. Sometimes the most dignified thing you can do is walk away without a word and seal every door behind you. Because half forgiveness is not healing. It's hesitation. It's leaving the gate unlocked while telling yourself you're safe. Machiavelli knew this truth deeply. He wrote, "If an injury must be done to a man, it should be so severe that his vengeance need not be feared." It sounds harsh, but it's not about cruelty, it's about prevention. The people who hurt you once will often try again if they believe you're still within reach, if they think you'll still pick up the phone, if they sense they still live somewhere in your heart. That's why decisive distance is necessary. You don't just reduce their access, you remove it. Entirely. You don't leave them with questions, you leave them with silence. Because silence isn't just the absence of sound, it's the presence of finality. It says, "This is over. You will not enter again. There is nothing left for you here." And that doesn't come from bitterness. It comes from wisdom. The Stoics never taught revenge. They taught restoration of order. They believed in acting with calm clarity, not emotional chaos. They taught that we should never let anger guide the hand, but once clarity arrives, we must act so thoroughly that our peace is no longer threatened by the same source again. This is not about destroying others. It's about making sure your inner peace is no longer in reach of those who proved they don't value it. The wound they left may still ache, but the boundary you set in response must become the fortress that ensures it never happens again. Too many people keep the door cracked, hoping for remorse. They wait for the text, the apology, the "I didn't mean to," but all that does is reopen the wound, because if someone truly cared, they wouldn't have caused the harm in the first place. The person who betrayed you studied you. They knew where to strike. They had access to your map and they used it. You don't give them that privilege twice. There is strength in compassion, yes, but there is a deeper strength in self-respect, in not entertaining conversations that reopen old injuries, in not responding when your silence would speak louder, in not seeking to prove a point but choosing instead to end the story completely. Let them wonder. Let them question. Let them talk. Your job is not to make them understand. Your job is to protect the future version of yourself who will never again suffer what you allowed before. And how do you protect that version? By making betrayal expensive, by making your silence terrifying, by showing that once your line is crossed, there is no second chance, no explanation, no back door. The ones who fear crossing you aren't afraid of your anger, they're afraid of losing your presence. And once you're gone, they feel it, fully. That's the power of striking completely, not with violence, not with threats, but with absolute removal. Because in the end, peace isn't just the absence of conflict, it's the absence of access. It's not having to look over your shoulder. It's knowing that you've cut the thread completely and no one is pulling on the strings behind your back. Betrayal is a hard teacher, but it teaches well. And its most important lesson is this: when someone shows you they're capable of harming your soul, you never offer them the same opportunity twice. Forgive if you must, but don't return. Heal in silence, move in dignity, and let your absence speak volumes. In a world driven by perception, noise, and hidden agendas, your greatest power is not in how loudly you speak, but in how well you control what others see. One of the most valuable life lessons you can embrace is this: guard your presence, protect your peace, and test people before trusting them. Strength today isn't just about being physically tough or emotionally cold. It's about being strategic with your energy, your trust, and your emotions. Stop giving the world a blueprint for how to hurt you. Not everyone deserves access to your vulnerabilities. Learn to master the art of emotional discipline. Speak less, observe more, and let your silence do the talking. Let your boundaries be clear, and let your standards speak louder than your words. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Don't beg for loyalty, don't chase explanations. Withdraw quietly and completely, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. Kindness is powerful, but only when it's given to the right people. Give yourself permission to be less available to those who drain you and more present for the life you're building. Remember, you don't owe anyone access to your soul, and the strongest version of you will not be the one who avoids conflict, but the one who chooses peace over chaos, clarity over emotional noise, and dignity over drama. When you move this way, people learn quickly you're not someone to be underestimated. Not because you intimidate, but because you don't need to prove anything. You protect what matters. You walk away when needed. And you never, ever lose yourself trying to keep people who were never meant to stay.